Pretty violent, right?
Yeah.
Well, what
It's
does he
removing you
mean
from
by "I see your
existence.
weakness"? I never actually actually considered this.
Oh god. Alright, well, there's a bird himself, the Birdman. Havencraft vs. Rune is gonna kick things off. Let's see how this matchup goes.
Right. So as to not get too much into my own questions, so you said, even though I kind of emphasized that you play a lot of Blood earlier, that you are mostly a Haven player, but I remember you saying earlier that you want something that kind of like pulls you back to the class, and Storm wasn't one of those things. What, like, could you elaborate a bit? What do you like generally feel about this kind of deck?
Okay, I think that Stormhaven is very good, but inherently, I like playing control. So that's it. I don't feel like Control Haven is very good right now, and I feel like Control Blood is. That's why I've been playing a lot of Blood, because I feel like Blood is very good right now. And again, my decision not to play Haven is not based on the fact that I don't think it's good. It's simply that I can't play the deck I want to play because I don't think it's very good right now.
I feel that a lot. I mean, it's always like seemed to me originally when I saw Haven as a class, I was like, okay, I found the control class, because like no other class actually kind of waits for its value the way that this class does with countdowns. But you see that Fatina just like being able to go on the play, and like I've noticed this exact fan of followers along the lines of Main U and White Tiger manages to just bully Rune for a lot of damage all the time, but the class really just holds up in terms of speed. Anyway, what I was meaning to ask a second ago was like, what kind of things, I guess like you kind of already answered by mostly wanting to play control things, but if there was anything that could kind of turn you towards Storm or just like this part of Haven, what would that kind of look like?
That's a good question. I think it would be that I would want to feel, it's kind of like a feeling. You know, when you play certain decks, you feel a certain way, okay? You're like, I feel, if I play Blood, I feel like I'm playing Blood. If I play Control Blood specifically, I feel like I'm literally draining my opponent out of options, out of cards, out of their life total. That's what I feel like. So it's I guess it's a aesthetic feeling. When I play Stormhaven, I don't have that. So if I don't, that's how I am as a player. If I don't feel the way that, and that's not to say other people don't. I just don't feel that way. So I think something, I don't know if it's anything specific, but something that made me feel like that would be better, I think.
I just like asking questions like that because one of the like biggest noting things that I like see every time I like come back and cast these and just kind of watch Shadowverse in general is that there is just so much room for expression and personality in the game, and I think a big part of it is, like, as you say, there's so much feeling behind everything. Even like, I guess because of our discussion of birds earlier, like even Stormhaven has its own like aesthetic theme of like Storm with all the bird followers and everything, but at the same time, I feel like Stormhaven has just always kind of been one of the most like cornerstone uses of the class. It's one of the most consistent that's just kind of been around for the longest time.
Oh, no, Stormhaven, I wasn't playing at the time that Stormhaven came around. I believe it was Darkness of All. I wasn't playing at that time, but hilariously enough, the first deck I ever built was actually Stormhaven. This is literally the first deck I built, and I didn't even know it was a deck. Like, because I started at the beginning of Rise of Bahamut, and I just built it. I was like, oh, this seems good, you know, and ended up being pretty decent.
Right. So. Yeah. So as we see, I think it seems that this is actually one of the only times I really see this happen. But even though Fatina did manage to find a lot of followers that are very hard traditionally for Rune to deal with as a class, I think Baad has just managed to find like the opener that works fine against it. Got the Magic Illusionist down. We have seen time and time again through like every single one of these like weekly that is just absolutely the cornerstone of Burn Dirt. Is Magic Illusionist can clear and deal with nearly any board state that Rune traditionally struggles with. So it's looking pretty rough for Fatina here.
Something I find very interesting about Baad's particular list is that Baad is running Mage and Nightfall. It's not something we've seen like a lot of, right? But now we're seeing it again, and I find that very interesting.
I think, funnily enough, the one time we finally get to see it, it's not with her effect, which might make her look a lot more, let's see, it could easily lead someone to underestimate the card, but yeah. Mage of Nightfall was actually a card that I thought, upon seeing it like spoiled before Tempest of the Gods, it was going to just be one of the most incredible things I've ever seen, and that's a really interesting conceit, though.
Yeah, he just said, "I'm done. Throw in the towel. I don't want any more of this. Get this away from me." And he didn't draw any banish. Okay, so let's run it back a little bit. He didn't draw any banish for the Magic Illusionist, so he literally had to trade into it. He had to burn turns doing that. He just wasn't gaining any traction. And this is actually I'm glad that happened. No shot to Fatina, but I'm actually glad that happened because it kind of emphasizes one of my points about Stormhaven. If you're forced to trade with Stormhaven, I feel like you just lose. I can
actually see that,
yeah. And that's another one of the reasons why I'm just not feeling Stormhaven right now. Is if I'm forced to trade, I'm forced to burn my turns, not going face with my Storm follower. I just lose, especially against Burn Rune. Especially against.
It like both highlights some of the issues that some aggro decks we have seen sort of face. Like Agrisword has the same problem. It kind of just works out in the same matchup. It's funny because I notice a lot of Storm followers, some of the best ones even, have kind of just sort of thinned out, or more answers in the game have been found to them over time. That a game that we used to see, like Storm just kind of dominated this game like quite a while back, but slowly but surely we're actually starting to see aggro decks start to fail to find finishers because they have to find a more stable early game against some lists. And I think that highlights definitely one of the strongest things about Burn Rune as a class. Baad just picked up that win pretty easily, and it just came down to something sticky like Magic Illusionist and having board control.
Yeah, if you can't get rid of Magic Illusionist, have a fun game. Okay? Because, I mean, okay, you know the feeling of having to trade like multiple things into a Magic Illusionist, right? It feels dreadful.
Does, yeah.
Everybody knows, everyone familiar in the chat can be like, yeah, I know what that feels like. It's
we all have our scars from the times we've had to trade from him.
Yeah. Okay.
At the very least, though, I think Fatina has a bit of a more bright-looking matchup here. Just playing, I believe, it's Vengeance Blood. I think that this is actually also more akin to like the original, like OG Vengeance Blood. There's a card that he actually has already drawn it. That used to be coupled with Soul Dealer, which he also runs, but Dark General Laura or Dark Commander Laura?
Demon Commander Laura. Demon Commander Laura, yeah. That card, it's been a long time since I've seen Soul Dealer in a deck, okay? Even longer than I've seen Laura in a deck. So I actually kind of want to see the old school, you know, play Soul Dealer, Evo, and play Laura, and then jam base. Like, kind of want to see it.
Yeah, the first like iteration of this deck, I believe, like mostly just went with that, and it is one of the most brutal things I've ever seen. But it's kind of cool to see Fatina go back to it. Like, Fatina is a player who puts a lot of thought into his decks. I've like talked to him a little before. I've seen like the things he's like discussed with his teams. He gets really into it. So really, maybe we'll get to see it this game. I'm really interested in like what inspired him to do that.
It's definitely off the beaten path. And that's something that Fatina has always done. Every time he builds a deck, he builds it, but it's got little quirks in it that change the way you see the deck. So you're playing against what you believe to be the conventional list, and then Fatina's like, nope, here's a curveball. It's not conventional. Have a fun time reading what I have.
Right. The biggest part of it is the combo kind of looks for burst, and the amount of damage he's been able to put on so far already has Baad in that range. She does have access to quite a bit of healing, and unfortunately I think Fatina's hand has become, it's the kind of hand that Vengeance Blood sometimes gets, maybe subtract like Laura from a lot of people's experiences, but Dark Generals, he's not in Vengeance, his opponent probably won't be setting him to Vengeance for him. So what he needs really desperately now is one of his Belphegors or the Soul Dealer, I would call, or something that just helps him get there.
Well, Air Jammer is a good draw. It does get 2 guys on board, so that was a good draw. It didn't get full value. Okay, it didn't get full value because he wasn't in Vengeance, but he does get to put 2 pretty beefy guys on board. Makes it a little harder for Baad to deal with.
Also, another thing that's really nice about Air Jammer is sometimes when you just need extra burst, having a card that can pull out Blood Wolf, especially when you get to this kind of like contesting part in the mid game where really any kind of board Fatina develops is probably not going to be hard for Baad to answer in really any capacity. She has Sahaquil active, Breath of the Salamander just drawn, and is currently ramping up towards things like Bahamut and the like. But for aggro decks, usually if they can find a follower with Storm in any capacity and spend their Evo points to do burst damage, usually that's how they manage to eke these through regardless.
So I find this play a little bit interesting on Baad's part. Baad opted to play a card to draw. She played Oracle to draw instead of playing the Sybil into the Breath of the Salamander to clear board. And what do you think of that?
I think what that tells us is that Baad really just wanted to have 10 play points. She wanted to get both of the ramp pieces off.
That's fine, yeah.
That's a big possibility, but I was actually really surprised by it too, because mostly she left Dark Air Jammer alive, and even just spending an evolution point from Fatina could have made that a much bigger threat. Or he could have like pushed an extra bit of damage, but he saves it, which I find really interesting on his part as well.
Now, Baad could just jam Bahamut, right? They just jam Bahamut, and there's no risk of being in Vengeance. So all the other, like, there would be no Storm that could kill from 6 health. And there's not a Razor Claw in sight.
That is half true. I actually just realized it's off the top of my head. There are actually 5 cards in Fatina's deck that technically have Storm with this hand that could finish it off. If he gets to activate Vengeance using Belphegor or Soul Dealer, we would actually see that be enough with Demon Commander Laura.
I think Bahamut is just the best thing that Baad can do right now. Ooh, not the card you want to see.
I like got excited for a second when I saw it, and then I thought about it a bit, and I was like, yeah, it's a piece, but
I think he knows it's over. He knows.
Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes when Dragon just like kind of has a full hand, then you know what can you really expect to happen? It's really tough to really get Dragon to not have like some way of getting to push a Bahamut face past like that one weak point he has.
Yeah, it's almost like Dragon mitigates that weakness. So many cards that can just wipe out more than one thing. She had Grimnir, and she had a Breath of the Salamander, and just happened to have Israfils too. So
had
much,
a Sahaquil if she felt like it. Yeah.
Baad takes the win 2-0 against Fatina, which is actually a very big win here for Baad. I mean, kind of closing out the season there. And it's going to put Fatina in an interesting situation. We talked about kind of the 3-2 tie possibility, and I think that's one step in the way of getting...